its intro by each organization. And it's my pleasure to invite Gladys from X to start first.
Thank you. X is an acronym for a call to share. We were founded in 2006 and started off as a small mission group of 25 people from the parish of Our Lady Queen of Peace. And our first destination is Phnom Penh, Cambodia. Since then, we have now expanded to 10 mission sites in Cambodia, Vietnam, Myanmar, and the Philippines. Our focus has always been on family-based missions, and we go to share the experience of Christ, our talents, our skills, and our resources with the poor, the needy, and the children overseas. Participants normally will experience the act of service with us, and it's a two-way process. That's why it's called to share. We normally receive more than we give, but in the act of giving, we share the values of Christ-centeredness, humility, generosity, integrity, respect for different cultures. And this, in short, is also the X mission statement.
Thank you, Gladys. Besides X, there's another organization that is serving children overseas. Let me now invite Elise from ANAC to share with us more about what they do over there.
Yes, good afternoon to all. I hope you can hear me. Many thanks to Caris and Caritas to organize this great event. We are deeply grateful to be part of it, so thank you so much. So I am Elise Cruz. I am lay missionary here in the Philippines to serve the street children of Manila at Anak TNK Foundation. Anak TNK, also known here as Tulay ng Kabataan, is a Filipino NGO founded in 1998 and run today by a French priest, Father Matthew Daucher. The mission of Anak TNK here is to help the poorest one of Manila. So it's the one, all the children, the one who are totally left behind in the streets or alone, the scavenger children also in the dump sites, and also the children surviving in the slums. Today we shelter 400 street children, 24/7, and thousands of children in the slum areas, helping them through education, health, and nutrition. Thanks to our 200 Filipino employees, and Alex Cristo, who is with me today, is one of them. Alex is our teacher here and also former street child. He is one of the first beneficiaries at Tulay ng Kabataan at Anak TNK. About our foundation, just finished with this. We were so blessed by the visit of Pope Francis in 2015. He met with our kids and said to Father Matthew, I want the work of the foundation to go on because these children are the flesh of Christ. You can see the picture of this moment. You imagine these children are the flesh of Christ. It's so deep and beautiful. And it reminds us that we are, in fact, very blessed. When we take care of the poor, we take care of Christ. We serve Christ, in fact. These children, they suffer terrible things in the streets, abuses, drugs, violence, and now with the pandemic, hunger also. Our duty is to provide them protection, food, a home, but above all, love. And yet these children, poor among the poor, teach us a most beautiful lesson of hope and love. And you know, I can testify it because I contracted a virus, not the one you think, but the virus of love, thanks to these kids, like Alex. That's why years ago, we decided with my husband to become missionary for good here at Tulay ng Kabataan at Anak TNK. Thank you.
So we're the Canossian village that is located at 1 Salim Road. And for 75 years, we provided shelter for children under the Canossaville Children's Home. Since 2017, with the closure of the home, the village became an extension of the Canossian missions through the Canossian Circle of Care to embrace not only children, but their families and the community around us. Regardless of whether the child is from Canossa Catholic, Canossian School for Children with Hearing Loss, or the preschool, we ensure that the child and the family will have access to different support and services they may require. So namely, Canossaville Children and Community Services, the Child Development Unit is there. Every child is our priority. Hence, the Canossian Circle of Care also embraces under its wings family members and caregivers who are a critical part of the child's formative years. These families may need also help from our Canossian Family Care Services. If families are already helped by external social agencies, we work with them to plug whatever gaps there may be. This is to ensure that no one falls through the cracks. Whatever help is given, it is to ensure that they receive the appropriate help while protecting their dignity.
Thank you, Sister. Next, we have Candice from IJ Homes and Children's Center.
Good afternoon. Our mission started in 1854 when the IJ sisters answered the call of God to come to Singapore to start a girls' school, the Convent of the Holy Infant Jesus in Victoria Street, which is present-day Chimes. There are 11 CHIJ convent schools right now in Singapore. I'm sure you remember the Gate of Hope, where the orphans were abandoned. Today, we continue to serve a few of them in our IJ village in Ang Mo Kio. As a social mission of IJ sisters, we continue to be the eyes, the ears, the hands and legs of the mission. We look out for the children in need. Frequently, we visit the HDB 1 to 2 room rental flats. Recognizing the needs, we respond in different ways. We provide them with a space to do their homework, a safe environment, provide them with healthy, balanced meals. We guide them and see them grow into well-adjusted youth. It is important to speak good English. We also have our speech and drama and communication programs. We want to teach them to speak well, to grow in confidence. We teach different life skills as well, cooking, baking. In the near future, we will start our music and photography lessons. As the famous saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child. We want to bring our village to the community. We serve as a community. We support one another with a consciousness of giving back to the society. We rely on God's providence, and we are thankful that God always provides. Thank you.
Thanks, Candice. Next, we have Freddie from Morningstar.
Thanks, Honfai, and good afternoon, everybody. Morningstar Community Services started more than 20 years ago. At that point in time, the Archbishop, the late Archbishop Gregory Yong, had actually called out to the lay Catholic community to do more, to step up and support the Singapore society. So our founders at that point in time, they were social workers and they were young parents themselves. And they thought that, there could be, as working professionals, they realized that they needed help and support for the care of their children. So we started our very first center, taking care of children after school at Lorong Lau Kun. And over the years, through the grace of God, we've grown a little bit more, and we currently serve about 450 children through 6 centers. But children, taking care of children provides us an opportunity for us to reach out to families, to be there for stressed out parents, to support them with parenting initiatives, as well as form the character of the children that we care for. Besides after school care services, we also offer learning support, learning intervention, as well as counseling and therapeutic services. Yep.
Thanks, Freddie. So all of you have heard from the 5 speakers and the good work that the 5 organizations are doing, both in Singapore and overseas. So let me start by asking them a personal question. I want to know what motivates them to do the good work that they are doing, what motivates them to join these organizations, what motivates them to continue serving in these organizations for so long. And I think first, let me invite Elise, because Elise is from France, I understand, and she's now in Philippines. So if you could just share a little bit about your personal story of why you decided to join ANAC.
Okay, I think the testimony of Alex is much more interesting, but just for my my decision here to come here. In fact, in France, I was a social worker. I came with my husband in 2008 here in the Philippines to do 2 years of volunteering at ANAC TNK. And when we came back in France after the 2 years of mission, you know, we were still thinking a lot of what we have done here. We were so blessed in France when we came back. We had a beautiful life, very comfortable and all, but something was missing. And little by little, we decided after 5 years to come back here for good, because we have one life only, and I think we have to do the choice one day. So we are so glad now to be here for good.
Well, thank you very much, Elise. Now, may I ask the four panelists, is there anyone here who would like to share your personal story? Ready?
For me, similar to Elise, I think that, you know, life is really, really very short, and I would like to do something that could benefit other people. I think that's also a way that I can learn and grow myself, and more importantly, whatever that I do, I can offer it as one of my prayers and as part of worship of the Almighty.
Thanks, Freddie. Gladys?
I was invited in the early years of Acts to go on a medical mission. I'm a medical doctor, by the founders of Acts, Dr. John Lee and Dr. Priscilla. And when I was there, I was just running a lot of clinics and seeing hundreds of patients every day. But what seized my attention was the total poverty that we saw in the small villages in Cambodia, and the plight of women and children who are really marginalized there. They have no rights, no access to education, and so basically bullied on by society. And then I realized that what John and Priscilla were doing was really on the right path. They were focusing on education, because education frees people. It frees the women, it frees the children, it allows them dignity and a means to support themselves. And from then on, society as well. And so we then decided to focus more on education and started building schools, building communities there. The other thing that made me passionate about X was that it's family-based. So I could share something that I was passionate about with my children and my spouse. And so it gave us a uniting force to do work together. And it also enhanced our spirituality, because we see the hand of God in everything that we do. The amazing thing about going on mission is also that it's not one way, and that's why it's sharing. We learn so much, not just humility, but the fact that people who have nothing can be extremely generous in so many ways as well. And that's so humbling.
Thanks, Gladys. Maybe I look to sister.
Thank
Tell
you.
us your story. We all want to know.
Well, as a Canossian sister, this is really our mission. So this year we celebrated our 80th anniversary. And in a way, Salim Road Canossa Convent was where our province started, because the initial 127 years ago, when we started, we were invited actually to run St. Anthony's Convent and the school at that time that was under the Portuguese mission. So, as I mentioned earlier, 75 years we were a children's home. And after I completed my tenure as a provincial leader, I thought that I was going to do something more contemplative, spend more time in prayer, and then pray for my sister's ministry. But it's not meant to be. I was asked to go over to Salim Road. That's where we started after the home closed. And I think at this point in time, what I feel is that I'm inspired really by the dedication of the lay people. Their commitment, their dedication, their love, their passion, their vision really for what the village can be. That we are not just schools, so the mainstream, the SPED school, the preschool, but we began really to see that we're not here only for ourselves. Each sector exists on its own. And it inspires me really to say, we need really to think of ourselves as one. Schools, social service sector. And that whoever needs that support, we need to really come in and do whatever we can for the children, their families, the community. And it has been a very humbling experience for me, how the Lord just continues to inspire. And the one thought from our founders about making Jesus known and loved. And you find that even, for example, the non-Christians, they know that that is our mission. And they know that reaching out to our children, our families, it is going to make Jesus known and loved. And in the process also, we begin to form hearts. The formation of the heart is really key to everything that we do. And we hope and pray that it will continue. It's evolving. It's still work in progress. But we do see that the Lord is the one who has been blessing us and inspiring us to move in the direction that He wants us to.
Thanks, sister. And it sure seems that the Lord has a plan for you. And Candice, can you share with us? I know you are from the corporate sector, then you join IJ Homes. I'm sure you must be inspired somehow.
Definitely. I must say, personally, I'm a convert. So I became a Catholic back in 2009. So after being involved in many volunteer work, I realized that there are so many Catholics out there doing so much for, whether it's for the old, for the poor, for the children. So I guess for me, this is a vocation I did not choose. I was called by the God, I suppose so. So in my past 2 years with IJCC, I've been looking out for, for the family that need our help. It has been difficult 2 years. So we hope that we can do more. We hope we can reach out to all these families and in response, hope to solve some of their issues.
Well, thank you to Candice and to everyone, Elise, Gladys, Sister, Fred. In the last 2 years, it has really been quite life-changing for many of us because of the COVID pandemic. Of course, it is something that affected not just Singaporeans, but globally as well. But indeed, every organization will have to change, will have to adapt to manage COVID. So I'd like to invite our panelists to give some thoughts to how COVID has impacted them, their organizations, and how are they responding to it. So maybe to start off, Gladys, as you know, is from X, and X conducts quite a lot of missions overseas in the past. I was told that in 1 year, they can bring something like 1,000 people overseas to serve in the neighboring countries. So of course, with travel being curtailed, this becomes quite a big challenge. So let's hear from Gladys.
We had a wrap up of our 2019 missions, which was basically a reflection and a get together in January 2020. And that was just before the impact of COVID hit us. Since then, several things have happened, as we all know. Number one, all missions were put on hold indefinitely. And this had an immediate impact on our June missions in 2020 to Kampot in Cambodia and in Vietnam, because planning had already started and registrations online was already on. And at X, we believe in building bridges between communities, bridges of sharing, and without that actual physical contact, it made achieving what we wanted to do a bit difficult. Participants normally spend 1 week in our mission centers, interacting and bonding with each other, as well as our local mission communities. So adversity brings creativity. So we embarked on virtual missions. In 2020, Battambang, which is the second largest city in Phnom Penh, had a virtual mission of 50 participants. I think the details will be elaborated on how we did this and what we achieved in our breakout session. Meanwhile, ongoing dialogue was still on between the teachers and the religious, especially the Salesians who run our schools. And we had reflections and dialogue with them in Myanmar, in Philippines, and Cambodia as well. The other thing that COVID has impacted is that our medical and dental missions could not continue running the clinics, and our vaccination programs were put on hold. We actually have an ongoing hepatitis B vaccination program for children and adults as well in the schools that we run in Cambodia and in the villages. And we were hoping to expand on this, but of course that's not possible. And in fact, some patients could not even complete the full 3-dose cycle. So again, this has an immediate impact. Religious and teaching staff, some of them came down with COVID infection. In countries where the vaccination rates are so low, this was very frightening and very demoralizing for both communities, us and them. Our medical teams, as well as the mission heads and committees, they put together containers and parcels of PPE, personal protection equipment, basic medication, and oxygen concentrators to be sent across. And we have sent it across to Myanmar, Cambodia, and the Philippines. We also had a dialogue session with the Catholic Medical Doctors Association of Yangon to see what they can do on the ground, because we need to involve the local medical community to help with this. Of course, the other thing is fundraising, which is almost non-existent in 2020. Our main fundraising is our gala dinner and other initiatives. But this year we have hopped onto the Caris bandwagon. You have a site called Make Hope Happen. And so that is a vehicle for us to try and raise funds. Finally, COVID, the overriding message that's coming from all our mission centers is that of food shortage. They are in dire straits because people have lost their jobs. There's no income, so they are starving. So the feedback is that please feed us with basic things. They don't want exotic items. They just want rice to put on the table. And so all our funds have been diverted to that.
Thanks, Gladys. And you, of course, we understand the difficult challenges that X is facing, managing the missions overseas. But of course, we also know from our local organizations that COVID is no less challenging for them in terms of volunteer management, and many of them will have to change the processes that they are using to serve their clients. So can I invite one of you, Freddie?
Sure. Yeah. So what's really happened is that, with COVID, we've had to increase the number of staff working in each of the centers because of no cross-deployment issues, safety management issues, and etc. So that's been an impact in the cost for the organization. Not to mention that the morale of the staff is also affected greatly because we can no longer see each other as often as we used to in the past. Discussions have to be online, but the nature of our work is actually relationship building. Our mission is building, strengthening family relationships. And likewise for the people who work at Morningstar, the day-to-day activities of being able to meet with each other, to talk to each other, to support one another is really, really important. And that has changed quite dramatically with COVID. So what we really need to do now is to be present and work with each other to see how we can adapt effectively to this change, and that will enable us to better support our clients and all the children that we care for.
Thanks, Freddie. Candice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For IJHCC, of course, COVID hit us quite hard. For the school care center, we had to do all the necessary social distancing and all that. But I think the main thing is more for the families who they face job losses and they face a shortage of food as well. So what we help them is to provide our IJ Joy Packs with food rations for them. At the same time, we had to think out the box of how to reach all the needy children. So we go through our 11 IJ schools. We extend our IJ educational program bursary awards to them. So this year, actually through this program, we identified about 800 needy children. So this month and next month, we will be bringing them more joy packs, hopefully to solve some of their crises that the families are facing.
Thanks, Candice. Sister, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah. So some have already, I think there are some common problems that we share among us. But for us situated over at the McPherson estate, and many are in rental flats. So I think when circuit breaker was just about to start, we were scrambling first to get iPads for the children. And we had to pay so much more because everyone was going for the few that was out there in the market. But besides that also, I think along the way, even up to now, we hear about parents having lost their job or having pay cuts. And I even have, mothers coming into the village and say, I have only $5 left. Tonight, I have nothing for my children. So when things like this happen, we cannot say you come back tomorrow, we will give you something. Immediately, we have to go to our own kitchen and say, let's prepare that food pack for the mother. So this keeps going on. And then the children themselves, especially children that are living in 1 or 2 rooms rented flats. It has been very challenging for the little ones because in a 1-room flat or 2 rooms, you find they have about 8 or 9 people, living in that place. And can imagine during circuit breaker, they are not supposed to be out of the house. So this has become a challenge emotionally, psychologically, even their mental health takes a hit. So along the way, I think with the pandemic, what we also begin to discover as a Canossian village is that we may really have to look at this for the longer term. It is not just about the pandemic. The fact is that when we look closer into families from a very poor background, these are all issues that is there. It's either it's surface and we have to address it, but the pandemic really helps us to realize that the underlying problem has been there, but now we need really to step up and extend our outreach. So besides that, with the COVID-19, they say have to home-based learning. Children, they don't have tables, so we even have to provide tables for them to do their homework, very basic furniture. And the sisters and my kitchen over at Canossaville, we even did 1 month of confinement for one of the mothers. So we took turns to cook to make sure that she is getting the right nourishment after she gave birth to the babies. And these are just one of those things that we have to do. We cannot say, oh, this is not our mission. Perhaps it doesn't fall within what we are supposed to do. But with the pandemic, I think we just have to do whatever is needed over there.
Do whatever is needed.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Elise, we have not forgotten you in Philippines. Indeed, I think for those of us who are based here, we only hear a little bit of the story of what is happening in Philippines. Maybe you can share with us how is the pandemic affecting Philippines as a country, and how is it affecting your organization?
Yes, thank you so much. There is different points. I can join you of what you said because of the problem related to all the sanitary problems, all the poverty increasing. It's the same here. But I think it's quite stronger because the lockdown is still ongoing since March 2020 without stopping. So it's very complicated, in fact, to continue, but we need to keep our mission ongoing and to continue really, especially today, because there is this crisis. We have to continue, as you said, sister, we need to do something. So the challenges for us is really first in the slum area, in the streets. Our work is still, we can continue our work in the streets and in the slum. So it means that we have a street educator every day roaming in the street to meet with the street children and to try to help them and to propose them to come in our foundation to change their life. So we have children coming from the streets still today. So there is, of course, we have as isolation bedroom, etc., a new protocol for this, but we can continue. In the slum, it's really important also because the people are surviving. So most of them, they just eat 1 meal per day. The families, we distribute now two more meals in the slums in our programs. Thousands of families are really starving. So yes, it's really surviving. This is the first challenge for us here. And the second, it's really linked to the lockdown also regarding the street children we shelter in our center, because we have 400 children from babies to youth. And I see some centers are joining the meeting, so it's nice to see that. So some of them, they are all, they are all locked in the homes since March 2020. And it's very challenging for our team. Like for Alex, maybe Alex, you can share how is it with the children in few words. Thankfully, they are by groups, so it's great. They are not alone, isolated, like for the families in the slum, for example. So it's quite challenging. Alex, can you add something?
Okay, good afternoon. Start of pandemic, the children was shocked and start asking what happened on the next day. So that's why we and our staff collaborate what activity we need to do for the children. So there's some activity to provide playing basketball, singing contest and dancing contest. So that's all.
Yes, and it's very important for them to express their feelings and to keep on going, because it's not finished for us. And also about the fundraising, of course, it was a big challenge, and it's still a big challenge because the donation dropped by 40% last year. And after we have wonderful team everywhere in the world, and in Singapore we have volunteer also. And they are doing wonderful fundraising to help us. And so we can go on and we can continue today.
Thanks, Elise and Alex. In this pandemic, many people need to stay at home. But at the same time, I think like many of our participants today, perhaps they also feel the need they want to volunteer, they want to serve. But of course, with the pandemic going on, some of them may not be very sure, how they can offer their services to the various organizations. So I'd like to invite the various panelists to talk to our potential volunteers, how can they be part of your organization? You want, Gladys?
All right, I'll go first. X has a lot of projects ongoing, especially in education. But just to give a bit of a background, we started off by kindergartens, building kindergartens, supporting them. And as the kids developed, we found that we had to build a primary school, a high school, and then get involved in the vocational centers, which is equivalent of our polys here, because they learn a skill there. And from there, they can go on to university. And the rate of growth in these education areas varies. In the urban centers, it's really fast. In the villages, they could be like 10 years behind because of lack of resources and infrastructure. And all the time, we need niche groups, skilled ability. For example, when we were building the high school, which cost quite a bit of money, it's a school for about 800 students. We on the committee did not know how to handle the architecture, the draft drawing, the structural survey plans. We did not know costing. We did not know what cement to use. And so we prayed, and if you pray really hard and you're on the right path, your prayers will be answered. And a Singaporean architectural firm, the ones who built Duxton Place, they volunteered to oversee this project for us on a pro bono basis, and it took a big load off us. And then lo and behold, there was this beautiful school, which the breakout room may show, which was built ecologically friendly, economical in many ways, and it's something that the children there can aspire to. Villagers come and say, "Oh, I would like my kid to attend the school." It gives hope. Another area that we are involved is building IT hubs. We normally get donated laptops and we bring it over. And connectivity is the link in rural villages. So we need professionals who are good at this. It doesn't have to be professionals. I think the youth are really good at this as well, to help us build up IT hubs to connect the rural villages. And the COVID situation has also taught us that a lot of things can be achieved virtually. We can hold lessons, we can connect people. So as long as they're linked up. The third issue we need is a call for more medical and dental volunteers. We are currently sourcing for COVID vaccinations to start a program. So we will need volunteers in this area as well.
What about volunteers who do not have these skills?
Everyone has a skill. These are three
Well,
main
not-
skills, but
okay.
everyone has,
Okay.
I mean, as our missions have
So for the
shown.
young people, they will have a lot of IT knowledge. So that they could help.
IT, the young actually are proactive in a lot of other things as well. Choreography, they plan sports days, they bring sports up. Football is very popular. Yes, and it's quite a universal game. It's everybody knows how to play football, and then you form teams, for
Okay.
example.
So we don't need to be professionals.
No,
To
no, no need.
Okay. Anybody else? Freddie?
So for Morningstar, for all our children, they really spend a lot of time outside of the home and away from a significant caregiver. So what we are looking for in terms of, human resources, whether they are a volunteer or whether they are a staff, would be someone who would be able to empathize, genuinely care for the children that we serve, as well as relate to them. That's one of the most important traits. Other than that, the people who work with us must be prepared to be trained, have a good understanding of, and we will train them in how to manage the behavior of children to obtain the best response from children. These are some of the most important things that we are looking for, be they serving at our after school care service or our Care Nights program, which is a night drop-in service at our centers.
Can you just talk a bit more about your Care Nights program?
Sure. When we started Care Nights in 2016, what prompted us to develop this program was we were aware that there were many families who needed additional help in the evenings for many reasons. Sometimes parents need to take on additional work for financial reasons. Sometimes the family may be undergoing some sort of stress, whether it's taking care of a chronically ill family member, mental health issues, or there may be certain discord. Now, for children who are exposed to such environment for a long time, research has shown that they don't. What's commonly known as these are adverse childhood experiences, and children don't fare well if they are exposed to such situations on a consistent basis. They don't fare well as adults. So what we wanted to do with Care Nights was actually to provide a nurturing environment for children to be at, while the parents or the significant caregivers have some time away to resolve the issues that they need to resolve. But while the children are with us, what we want them to be able to take away would be positive habits, life skills, some form of social emotional learning, and etc. Skill sets that would enable them to make appropriate decisions and allow them to integrate in school. So for this reason, we require volunteers who are able to support the development of children, to work with them on an individual basis, so that the children can have somebody that they can look up to mimic and to learn from.
Like mentors.
Something like that.
Thank you. Candice?
For volunteers, if you are interested, please join our breakout group. Okay. We have many areas for the children. We have been working with OYP and Caritas Young Adult as well for collaborators to work with us. So basically for volunteers, the most important thing is have a heart for the children. So we sort of match them individually with the children. It depends on what the children need. So for example, for our Saturday program, we have one child who is autistic. And we do have dyslexic, and we do have some of them who needs mathematics tuition. So it depends on the children that we have, and we sort of match them. Yeah, that's what we need.
Very good. So participants, please remember to join the breakout group later on if you are interested. In fact, all the 5 organizations will be hosting their own breakout rooms after this main session. And details of how to join the breakout rooms will be given later. So now let's hear from Sister on, do you need any volunteers?
Well, yes, we do. But I think, unfortunately, with this whole COVID situation, we can no longer take in big groups of volunteers. But we try to accommodate our volunteers much more on a personal basis if the children needs, because many of them are still needing, in a way, a one-on-one help. I remember when I was sending volunteers to Myanmar, and then I was telling the volunteers that, oh, they need actually a computer, you know, and they say, no, sister, when I go to Myanmar, I don't want to teach computer because I'm getting away from here and I want to do it hands-on. And yet today, the computer is something that is so important, even for our children and also for the families. We know that everything is now online. What even our schools had to do really was to set up laptops, you know, during the time of the registration to make sure that the poor are not left out. And we have to find creative ways really of helping our children. And lately, when the Canossian School for Children with Hearing Loss, they had the NUS students doing a camp, a virtual camp. I thought it was awesome. The fact that the children enjoyed the camps and they didn't really feel that, oh, I missed out so much. You know, so I think at a time like this, the kids know, the children know that things has to be like this. It's not like what it used to be, but we continue to be grateful for what is given to us. So I think it has also a positive impact for our children and our families.
Thank you, Sister. Elise, in Philippines, I'm not really sure how people from Singapore can volunteer. Perhaps you can just elaborate. I'm sure you have some need for, if there are some Singaporeans or people in Singapore here who wants to volunteer with you.
Sure, you can do a lot of things from Singapore, even
Okay.
if you cannot travel now. Maybe I hope one day we will see face to face, not like this. But you can help. Sure, you can. The first way we used to say that prayer is the first way for helping us, and I think the same for other organizations. So please continue. I know you are doing it with Caris and with all our Anak TNK team in Singapore. They are praying for us, and it's really important because it's the only thing that really is fruitful here in our mission. So the first thing. The second thing, also because I am a communication and partnership manager, it means also to do fundraising. So we have a great team also doing it, and you can do it in many ways today. There is a lot of new ideas online to do fundraising, and also for all the organizations who need it. So yes, it's the second way, but I insist on the first way, really prayer, because without the help of Providence, we cannot do anything. So thank you for this so much.
Thanks, Elise. So given the current situation, obviously there are many challenges that all of us face. So, and of course our participants, many of them, if they are willing to volunteer, will be a great help to all of us. But other than volunteers, are there any support you need from the rest of the community? If you do, please share. So at least perhaps as a group, we can discuss, and maybe some of our participants may even be able to offer some ideas. So maybe let me just ask, is there any help you need? Is there any help you need from government? I mean, of course, if they can give you more financial resources, I'm sure that will be of help. But whatever help you need from the community, please feel free to share. Of course, within this group, within participants, we may not have the decision makers, but even if they are able to hear of your request, perhaps with the prayers, perhaps things can come about. So I just want to invite the panelists to tell us very frankly, is there any help you need from the community for you to carry on doing the good work you are doing?
So for us, we welcome individuals with specific skill sets, those individuals with art and craft skill, with coding skills, or IT skills, or communication skills, because these areas can support our work tremendously, especially in the context whereby our costs will rise because of safe distancing measures. We need to increase our staff, taking into consideration that the facility size does not allow us to increase our enrollment. So on one hand, we need to have an increase in staff, but on the other hand, we need to manage the enrollment so that we can still keep to safe groups, a manageable group size, and etc. So any form of help that will allow us to bring down our costs of running the operations would be very, very helpful, because our intention definitely is not to pass on the cost increase to the parents. And we make this decision knowing that people who send their children to such setups are parents who need to be working, and we should not, to the best of our ability, be passing on the cost to them. Otherwise, we should just be like any other commercial setup and run it as such. But our choice is not to, because we want to support the sandwich group in our society.
Anybody else? Gladys?
We have realized that our graduates have difficulty finding work. It would be fantastic if members of the community can come up with ideas on how to start up businesses, or help them venture forth to find employment or be self-sufficient in the areas that they are trained in. This varies from, we have a cooking school, we have a catering school, we have mechanicals, we have IT, we have language skill sets students. So previously, the tourist industry would utilize quite a number of our graduates, but that has dried up. And so we are looking at starting up small business opportunities to employ them. The other area is self-sustainability. So in Battambang this year, the committee is planning an agricultural sustainability project. Basically, seeding funds to help the farmers there kickstart their crops. So you can volunteer to be part of the mission, or offer advice, because we're not really farmers here. And that's another area of help that we need, that will teach people how to fish for themselves.
Thanks, Gladys. Anybody else? Candice?
For IGHCC, we need we want to go, we really want to bring our village to the community. So we need space. We need someone to maybe provide a space to us. We are going where the poor are, because the poor can't come to us. So we need volunteer to also collaborate, in the sense that follow us on outreach program. We do door-to-door knocking on the rental flats. So if we can find the children, we need the place for them to do their homework, to help them out. Yeah, that's what we need.
Thanks, Candice.
Yeah, so even for us, the need to grow also our human resource, because with the limitations on numbers that can gather. So we need more help in that way. And also to grow a pool of therapies, because besides just at 1 Salim Road, we're extending our services in terms of for the mental wellness, the counseling, also to our campus in Bedok. These are all costs. And of course, for the family itself, a day-to-day, many of them, they will still be needing help for food packs, even school fees for the children. And we have all this, set up these funds to make sure that where the parents need, there is always help available. Yeah.
Thank you, sister. Sorry, Elise, if you don't mind, can I just skip your part for this? Because I've just been told that we have 1 more minute, and I'd like to invite the 5 panelists to have just a short sentence to what key message you'd like to leave the audience with before we end this session. So perhaps I start out with you, Elise. A key message that you would like the audience to go away with.
Yes, thank you so much. So Mother Teresa said that the most terrible poverty is loneliness and the feeling of being unloved. And because of this pandemic, unfortunately, we can see a sort of increase of indifference. And I think it's a worst today for us all, in fact. With lockdown, fear, sanitary measure, it's terrible. We can see in the slum family saying to us, there is very, very few NGO now who are really helping us on the field. So indifference is really the biggest challenges, I think, for us all. I think also each of us to keep on going our support and to keep going our mission here and in Singapore, everywhere. We need to do, like, we can do all deeds of love, and we can all pray also. Yes, prayer, I'm sure, I insist, but we know it in the foundation, we experience it every day. Yeah, it has a huge, huge impact, and it can even change lives. Be sure of it, Alex. It's a proof of it. That's why we ask him.
Where you go and take from the hotel?
We ask him to share his experience and his life later. So thank you so much for this, and thank you so much to give us the opportunity to create more awareness, because I think it's really important today to speak about this problem, this situation, and also of hope. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Elise. Can I invite Gladys?
ACTS is about building bridges between communities. And so now we build virtual bridges. This is important because we need to let our communities know that they are remembered and that we care, and to let our local participants know that in spite of all the obstacles, there are still pathways to sharing the love of Christ. And all we have to do is to be resilient, creative, to spread love and hope.
Thank you. Sister?
So for us at the village, this message of hope is come rain, come shine, we're here for you. And for our children, I think over these 2 years, they realize God is with them. So every recess, 7 minutes before the bell goes, they will all gather around the Sacred Heart of Jesus, you know, to pray for the pandemic, for the countries that are suffering. They unite their prayers. So this is the hope that we have in our children, that they grow up to be persons of hope, persons of prayer. It has been very encouraging when the icon of Our Lady of Perpetual Help came. Even the non-Catholics will gather around our Blessed Mother asking for her blessing. Thank you.
Thank you. And this?
I think for us is we live in a community. We continue to serve as a community, help one another grow. For us is to bring our village to the community as well. And for the children, every child to believe each one has dignity, each one is specially loved by God. That's my message.
Thank you. Ready?
For Morningstar Community Services, our mission is to strengthen family relationships. And that's because families are really the building blocks of society. And very often we keep hearing that, especially now, there's a new normal, and it's said with so much negativity. But I beg to differ. We beg to differ. In fact, our hope is that families will continue to seek the help that any families requiring help will continue to seek the help that they need. Because as you can see from today's participation, there are many organizations out here to support families. And we can work together to define this new normal. It doesn't need to be a negative new normal, but understand that when we all come together as a community, we can make this new normal an even better normal than the previous normal. So that's my hope for everybody attending this conference today.
Thanks, Freddie. And my thanks to all the 5 panelists. Indeed, in the last 1 hour, I think there were many messages of hope, faith, and despite all the obstacles that the pandemic presented to us, it is with great joy that we have these various organizations still working with great faith, doing their very best for the community, for the children. So for participants, please do not leave at this time. In the next half an hour, the 5 organizations will be opening up their breakout rooms so that you have a chance to interact with them, to ask them questions, and also to find out a bit more about their respective programs. You will see the icon at the bottom of your screen, breakout room. So once we finish the main session, click on that, and then you'll be taken to one of these breakout rooms for you to join. So with that, thank you very much to all the participants. Thank you very much to all my panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you.